everybody, welcome back to The Varied Life. I am Steve, the retired hobby tech guy, and today we're going to be taking a look at our Creality K2 Plus, rocking the house, and a Warhammer Blade Guard Sergeant print. Ends up being a 15-hour print, and we're going to take a look at the results. Matter of fact, it just finished printing, and so what we're going to do is we're going to pull it off the build plate. Well, we'll leave it on the build plate. We'll take the build plate, we'll put it on the table, we'll move some camera stuff around, and we'll start removing supports, and we'll see how it turned out. So with that, let's take a look on the slicer Creality print to see what we are working with, kind of doing the before and after. Okay, so here it is. This is the guy, and I think I found this on Colts 3D, so you can see it is a pretty involved and detailed character there. Some of the concerns that I have are obviously, the little starburst thing above his head. The other things that I can see that could be problematic are these purity scrolls that they're kind of dangling out into space. Look how small that is. So, yeah, a little bit of concern there, and maybe on the sword hilt that we see right there that's kind of off into space, and then just some of the overall details that we see on this thing. How is this going to perform, and how is this going to look? We even have some details there. I mean, look at the skull there that we have right there. That I'm really kind of interested to see how this is going to turn out. So for some information on what is going on, downloaded this STL file. It was a long time ago when I first got into resin printing, and popped it into Creality Print. And for those people that are wondering, if you look over here on the right, we have a detail layer height of 0.16. And let's see, some of the other things that are noteworthy. The standard Arachne, or however you pronounce that, Arcane, or whatever that is, that stays the same. Pretty much all stock settings. Wall loops is going to be 2, and when we get down to sparse infill density, it's going to be 3%. So I was kind of a little worried about that, to see if that was going to be enough infill. So this is kind of, I'm glad that, we're getting the results that we are. Set it for gyroid for the infill pattern. And then if we go down here, I think everything's the same there. And then when we go to our layer speeds, the only thing that we ended up changing was this overhang speed. We entered in this being 60 millimeters a second. So that was a change from the stock settings. Other than that, when we start looking at supports, we see that we used Tree Auto, Tree Slim. And so when it pops up and it says, do you want to, it has some other settings to change. And you have the question that pops up that says, do you want to do yes or no? So I answered yes to that question. Threshold angle is 25, and top Z distance. This is one of the settings that Creality Print changed, because mine was, I think, 0.265 or something like that. So it is a 0 top Z distance, and the support wall loop tree was 2. So those are some settings that Creality Print changed. As far as prime tower, we didn't use that. And as far as the skirt and brim was auto, and we'll take a look and see how that popped out onto the build plate. So yeah, using the Creality K2 Plus with the 0.4 millimeter nozzle with a layer height of 0.16. So with that, what I'm going to do, we're going to change and do a little bit of moving around, and I'll get the build plate. Matter of fact, let's see, what do I got to change here? First of all, I think what we'll end up doing is we'll turn some lights on. Boom, so we've got the light, and we'll do that. And I think we're set there. And now what we'll end up doing is we will go back, and what I'll do is I'll go to the Creality K2 Plus, pull the build plate out, and we'll go to the desk and remove it from there, do the supports, and keep the fingers crossed that this thing will turn out okay. So with that, I will leave you at the desk with a little bit of energetic music as I go get the build plate. Be right back. Okay, there it is. That popped off the build plate pretty good. Now what we'll end up doing is we'll get our microphone. I'll put this here because we won't need that. Rotate our chair around, and I think we should be good to go. Hooray! We got picture? We got picture. So this, oh, you know what I can end up doing? How about turning the music off? Alrighty, there it is. So this was printed in Hyper PLA. Let's see if we can see right there. Printed in Hyper PLA, and this ended up being almost a 15-hour print. And I've noticed with the Creality print and the new update, what happened is that the estimation times have been off by about an hour. So that maybe that's something they need to work on. But yeah, you can end up seeing the tree support slim, and some of the details here. We got very minor stringing, and we got some little squiggly details on the top that were little to be desired, but the interesting part is going to be taking the supports off. So with that, let's just go ahead and we'll start with some of these ones on the cape. And those came out not bad. So definitely going to have to clean up some of the marks on there. So we've got that. Not as crisp and clean as what I would want. But again, this was just using that setting of, answer the question yes with the support, the supports tree slim, and I answered yes to the question. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. And the other question is how close are these supports going to get to the model, and are they actually going to run into the model itself? And I don't see any as of yet, so that is good. But I think we're going to have to do some little finagling as far as support removal. So I'll just kind of do some surgical removal. And for those older people out there, if you remember the game Operation, yeah, this kind of reminds me of that just a little bit. And I'll have to do some cutting action. One of the other problems I had previously was the tree supports would actually touch the model when I used the support settings for slim tree auto supports. And so it'll be interesting to see how this pans out with this. And we're going to have to do a little bit of cleanup, that's for sure. And I wanted to do two of these. I was thinking about doing two, and then I saw it was a 15-hour print, and I was like, maybe I won't do two of them. So do like a comparison between the default trees auto supports versus the slim tree auto supports when you have to answer yes to that question that pops up. So, but maybe I'll do that on a different video. I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah. This is going to be interesting. Definitely some surgicalness is going to be involved in taking this apart. So, just so many different things here that are I think the support is probably the one thing, and getting the support settings dialed in is something that a lot of people need to take a look at, including me. This is definitely a learning procedure, a journey of learning. So we'll see how that goes. And with the little details, yeah, this is going to be interesting. So it seems that in other prints that I've done, I've had better results with taking the supports off. But again, those came off pretty nice. That came off good. And the cape, we just got a lot of scarring on the edge of this cape on the bottom. So you can see that there. So we'll definitely have a little bit of cleanup and post-processing work. This will be interesting to see how this works out. Wow, came off kind of good. One of the larger prints that I want to do is a Hulk, but then right behind that is Warhammer. And I kind of go back and forth on that, because I want to do one big print about 5 feet tall, and my heart is set on the Hulk right now. But seeing that this is Warhammer, this could be an interesting print as well. This is definitely going to be an interesting support removal, especially when we get into this stuff here. Man, that will be interesting. So far, that came out pretty good. Just need to get little details and be careful. Now I wish I had some real long nose cutters, because that would be helpful. Interesting. See if we can get some of this off of there. Can we? Wow, that is really dense. Oh, okay, that came off pretty good. I like that. And let's do a little bit of surgical cutting here. Can get that out of the way. Preemptive little cut here, and a preemptive cut there. See if we can get this big piece out of there. And we get it. Boy, that is just so wedged in there. Cut some more out. Give us some more wiggle room. What else is, there it is. There we go. Minimal. You got a little bit of an artifact there that kind of got on there. So a little bit of a little oopsie there. I think that's because of the model. I don't think that's because of the printer. And again, the model for this was a resin printing miniature. So we're talking about 32 millimeters. And this is obviously a lot bigger. Get something over here real quick. Get my fan going. It is a little warm in here. Okay, let us continue on in our surgery of this guy. And yay. We got the pommel of his sword. We didn't damage that, so that is good. Yeah, this is truly, and then when I was talking about, you have the purity seals that are really small, so that is going to take some surgical skill so that we don't damage the scroll. So we'll see how that ends up. Some people have said to help with this, you could heat up the model to remove the supports. I don't know if I would do that. There's a little support. There's supports behind the purity seal. Wow. I think those are the little details. I think we can just continue on with the bigger stuff. Since this has obviously taken a while, let me throw on a little bit of background music. So, bear with me. Alrighty. Nothing too overbearing. Rough. Oh, it is so close to breaking that purity seal. Going to be a doozy. See if I can be surgical with this. Oh, I think I broke it. Oh no. Yep, I think I did. Yep. But I think I can salvage it. Look at, there is just such a huge mass on that little purity seal that we have, that little stripe there, and then all of this in the back. Yeah, that was just all boogered up. Yeah, I don't think there's a way that would be, you'd be able to get that off without breaking that, because you have to get behind it. There's so many contact points. But we did get it off, but I think we can salvage this, and that's why they have glue. So there's the little piece that we're talking about there. So let's set this right up there. So that is our first injury. And that was the purity scroll that landed off of that. So thankfully we only have that other one, and I think we're okay. And with that, that's something with resin printing. Excuse me. With resin printing, as this would be sitting on your build plate, what you can end up doing is actually bringing the model up and tilting it in whatever orientation to help resin print. But you would be able to have more supports instead of having all these supports just muddled. But again, that's coming from resin printing. So I don't know if that would be useful in that endeavor, or if it could be brought into FDM printing. Wow. is going to be interesting. Let's see if we can do some little removal stuff here. Just trying to get around that sword is going to be interesting. Just trying to get in there is just... Let's see if we can dissect it. Just travel up the tree. That's another way we could do it. This is going to be a little bit more involved than I was expecting. Just everything's so tied in. It makes me wonder how the supports would work with a default support. I don't know, that would be interesting to look at on the slicer. Another interesting little thing to check out. Okay, we're making some progress. Like that. Does water-soluble supports sound good about now? Besides the incurred expense. But then if you had the water-soluble, you would need a dual head system, kind of like the Bamboo H2D that has the two print heads. That would be an interesting thing. But I'm holding out for the, what is it, the Index from, what's that company? They're coming out with a new print head system, kind of like the Bamboo XL, but they're multiple print heads. But their print heads are like massively smaller. They do induction cooling. INDX, index, induction, whatever it is. But that looks really like a really awesome system. So I think that's going to be the next big thing, because they have it on like a Voron Zero, and they had like 5 or 6 heads or whatever on there. Just incredible. So talking about being able to use multi-filament and multi-material, that would be incredible. Way more, it would probably be the most efficient multi-material printer that would come out. So that's supposed to be coming out, and I'm really looking forward to that. So let's see. Good Lord, this is just... on something like this, it would be well worth well worth doing the water soluble. So much. This is the stuff that the other channels don't go into. And it's probably because it takes a lot of time. So, but I've got time. I'm retired. And we'll see how, good Lord, this is like, be careful. Be careful, Steve. Don't go crazy. And everything's in white. So I mean, that would be an idea. Just be able to print your supports in one color and your model in another could definitely help. Let's see if we can get that off of there. Oh, we got some small ones down here. Just kind of careful. Wow. You know, and wanting to do like a large one of these, something like, you know, life size or, you know, 5-6 feet tall or something like this, at least you could take the model and you could cut it up in Luban, you know, with, you know, part numbers, and, you know, it would piece this out so that way, obviously with a life size figure, it would be a ton of different parts, but you wouldn't have to mess with all of these supports because they would just be in chunks. So you could end up having like doing a foot, doing a shin, you know, it would all be puzzle pieced together or taken apart, and then you print it, and then you wouldn't be running into this. But then again, that's a large print, so that would be a ton more filament. This is definitely an interesting dilemma. I'm trying to get all this stuff off. So this is definitely a labor of love. I'm trying to get all these off. Maybe I should just start on this side. Try to get these little ones off. Like that. Maybe work my way down. Yeah, it might be onto something there. Better. Something to be said for working on your top down. Actually seems to have some merit to it. So yeah. Is that coming out? Can you all see that? Yeah. So maybe from the top down. I'm going to save this for last because that's really delicate. So I guess let's just move on to this stuff here. Pretty surprised at how the head came out. Not bad. In resin printing, you have the ability to change the density of your supports. And that's so you can kind of minimize having a ton of supports. Which I'm wondering if that would be a thing in 3D printing. To see what has supports and what doesn't, or what is part of the model. And what isn't. I wish I had a monitor up here so if you people were asking questions or anything, that would be get a little conversation going. Some people are kind of surprised that I was an American expat. Ooh, gotta be careful. But yes, I am an American expat. I decided to retire overseas, and we've been enjoying it. We've been here, retired in Korea for what, about just over 2.5 years now. So okay, that helps. So about 2.5 years now. There we go. Look at that. Yeah. That came out really nice. As loincloth is, it's going to be interesting. Yeah. But yeah, we've been here about 2.5 years now. And things have been going well for us. Yeah, there we go. Kind of like, man, I'm going to have supports all over the place. Oh well. But we've been doing pretty good. Retiring overseas allowed us to retire early, which is a good thing, even though we would lose some money off of, you know, waiting until retiring later, but it ended up being a good thing. So some people have asked, are you planning on going back to the United States? Honestly, probably not. We're probably going to just stay overseas and retire, and that will be it. These little pieces and parts. But retiring overseas is, I think there's, I remember a blob, an article or a blog or something like that, a little information thing that talked about those who retire overseas. I think it was like 5 million, maybe 6 million, something like that. People of the United States retire overseas, so it's not common. But it is something a lot of people do. So detailed stuff. I guess I can hold off on that. We've got this big mass under here, which is problematic for sure. There we go. It's just like a big, huge so glad this doesn't have like a ton of details on it, because otherwise this would be ripping all of those details out. It would be horrible. Yeah, we're getting a little better. Man. This really makes me want to like reprint this, but use some other settings. Just do the tree auto support default. Don't do the slim, and then use the changes in the top Z distance to see if we can get a little bit easier support removal, because these are really popped on here. Stuck. Get off of there. Come on. Ouch. Come on. Especially these ones here. That is crazy. Some of them came off really super easy. But these are a pain in the butt. I just got to be mindful that I don't manhandle and mess up some of this other stuff here. Seriously. It's just horrible. There we go. That's a little bit better. Those are some rough supports to get off of there, and we still got a little bit of mass in there that we got to clean up. But for the most part, of course, really, who's going to look under his, you know, from the underside of this? Nobody, but I will. Let's continue on since we've got the majority of that done. Oh, we got some little A-painters down here. Oh, we got some stuff on the bottom there of his shoe. And that's what I was talking about. I mean, with resin printing, at least you could lift the model off of the build plate and the supports would build up and then you'd get your model. But with this printing, with 3D printers, now we've got a mass of supports that's just so super small that trying to get that, I mean, that's just crazy small. And just trying to get that off of there. Don't want to use an X-Acto knife because that could be, I just have a bad feeling about that. That would be problematic. Let's just try to dig in here. There we are, we're getting it. Just needed a little bit of leverage like that. Be careful. There we go. It was a little rough for sure. But the good thing is that's on the bottom of the print, so yeah. And kind of get away and not see that damage there. Let's see. Let's go ahead and we'll there's another little piece. Another little dingleberry there. It actually had a little bit of failure point on the model itself, I think. But it's in a lot better condition than what I thought it would come out. So I'm happy in that regard. I was expecting a lot worse, honestly. Just doing some surgical removal. I wish these came off just a little bit better. A little bit easier. But I figured, you know what, I wanted to try it and just see what happens with the automatic changes that Creality Print does with that, with the 3 slim auto supports. So actions have consequences. Imagine that. What are the odds? Ding. There we go there. Yeah, wasn't too bad. Nice. Came out good. That support, I think it is. I'm gonna have so many supports I gotta clean off the floor. But that's okay. Not bad, huh? Not bad at all. Getting some minor cleanup. Not too shabby for a 32mm model that was blown up. I don't know, was it 600%, 500 or 600%, something like that. So, yeah, not bad. Let's work our way up. We'll get some of these other little pieces out of here. And to the final small. I think we'll have to do some surgical cutting on this. We don't go crazy. So some of it you work from the top down, some of it from the bottom up. Yay! That came out good. There's kind of a big mass on this one here. See if I can do that. And it paid off. And we even kept that little piece there. So I'll have to do some little cleanup on here, but pretty good. Another little one there. So small, seriously. works. Might have to get an X-Acto knife to get that. Just you know what would be really nice on this is one of those ultrasonic cutters. Which would be nice. I actually did a Kickstarter. I backed a Kickstarter on one of those ultrasonic blades. So we'll see how that comes out. Yeah, we've got this piece here that comes out. There's another one on the other side, but it's so wrapped up in supports. I think we might lose that. I don't know. Wow, did you see that bend? This is the one piece I was worried about. The other piece I was worried about was kind of the sword and this little shield up on his chest, and of course the purity scrolls. But this is going to be, it just ended up being a mass of supports. Trying to cut. This is maybe, fingers crossed. This is challenging. Gritty. Tree support, which is going right up here, and then we have the model right there, so it's kind of joined at a few areas along that. Which, do I dare get the X-Acto knife? Yeah, it supports all over the floor. Go figure. Be careful, boys and girls, with sharp objects. This is a fairly new blade. I was going to say, almost your blood. Yeah, the ultrasonic blade would be really nice right about now. Because that would just like vibrate and cut that stuff out and we would be good to go. Instead, we're left with old school. We got it, boys and girls. It's a little bit of cleanup that will have to be done, but not bad. That I was surprised. Bit of deburring that you would have to do. We still got that mass there that we need to get out. So, let's see if we can. Boom, there we go. Bad, folks. Let's do a little bit of detail work and some deburring to get that all nice and clean. But we still have a few little pieces down here. I don't know if that is part of the model. So this little piece that runs up there and maybe another one there. I don't know. I'll have to take a look at that. What does the... Yeah, that's actually part of the model. So if you're wondering, this piece here that comes up and then the one on the other side is actually, that is part of the model. So, yeah. So almost tore that one off on that one side, so we'll have to do maybe a little bit of cleanup work on that. And see how that turns out. Definitely cleanup work. I'll have to get all these little edges and stuff and clean those up. But for the most part, I am happy about this. Not bad at all. Not bad. Still got a little bit of we got some wow. That is some crazy supports. It is right in there in such a small space. That is crazy. Can you get that out? I was hoping all of that would come out. But the model said no. We will not be doing that today. That blade is just not stiff enough. Maybe I've got something that can help. I don't know, that looks gonna be... Oh, yeah, look at that. The espresso little stirring stick thing to the rescue. Yeah, alrighty. Give it up for the espresso stir stick tool. Knew that would come in handy one of these days. And got some small stuff hanging on here. So small supports. You could probably leave that there, but again, an ultrasonic blade will be nice whenever I get that. Because that would make quick work of this. Careful. There we go. Alrighty, we got that. We still have some underneath his neck, his helmet. Seriously. Wow, that's gonna be really hard to get that. We did. Yay. is going to be crazy. But aside, I'm not going to bore you with all the minor details on this because there are still some areas that I can clean up, like the underside, wherever these ended up. Oh, there's another piece. Imagine that. A little. How am I gonna get that? Again, awesome tool. Who knew? Who knew? But that, I am pretty surprised. I'll have to do a little bit of, I think that was because of the model, but I think I'll have to do a little bit of post-processing, you know, some sanding and stuff like that on some of these edges. But overall, this came out pretty good. I'll be really interested in cleaning up these edges, doing a little bit of sanding. We still got do a tiny bit of sanding on this and then prime it and paint it and see what we get. That came out nice. I like that. It's a little bit back heavy, but we'll end up getting a base for this. I'll print out a base or something, and then yeah, we should be good. So yeah, there it is, folks. The Warhammer Blade Guard Sergeant, and getting all of his supports off. That ended up being really good. And always be careful with your sharp things, because they can cut you. So anyway, let's transfer everything back to the desk and we will close this video out. Let's go ahead and do that. Back support, supporting the back, and like I said, support pieces is everywhere. Alrighty. So, wow, I'm kind of like, I'm like far away. Got a whole big picture of me, but let's kind of zoom in a little bit. There we go. We can finish up this video. Alrighty, so there it is. What we ended up doing is finishing up our Creality K2 Plus print of the Warhammer Blade Guard Sergeant. And again, what we ended up with is some pretty good details. Let me see if I can get some light on the subject, so you can see some of the details there. Let me make this smaller. I'll set that off to the side. So yeah, this turned out pretty darn good. Again, this was an STL file for a 32 millimeter figure. And you can see the details on it came out pretty good. Not bad. Not bad at all. Some of the details, again, not bad. You can see his backpack, jetpack thing going on there. I am pretty impressed with this. Impressed. I like that. Definitely going to have to do some sanding. As far as the auto supports, because we did use the Tree Auto Support Slim. And matter of fact, let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'll show you. So over here on the right hand side, we have our Tree Auto Support and Slim. But if we change that back to default, and then you could slice the plate again, we'll just go ahead and we'll re-slice that. It's going to take a little bit. We'll just come back to this view. But basically what ends up happening is that when I went to the Slim auto tree support, then it asks this question. I want to show this, but the auto tree support ends up putting that top Z distance at 0, and I think that's why we had some problems with removing some of these supports on this. I think that needs to be changed. So honestly, I might. It's a 15-hour print. Let me see if I have the STL for this guy. Do I actually print him out? I don't think I have him printed out as an STL, as a 32 millimeter. Oh, wait, no, that's not him. That's close. It's the same guys. But I might actually end up printing this guy out as a 32 millimeter resin print, and then that way you could have the before and after. But for kind of a comparison, this is a 32 millimeter print, so to kind of put that into perspective, we blew the 32 millimeter guy up 600%, and this is what we ended up getting. So yeah, little difference, you think, you know, worked out kind of good. I am very pleased with the results. But now that the slicing done, I want to show you that setting. So there it is in all its glory, all the supports. But when we go over here to the right, this is the tree and this is the auto with the default setting. But when you go from default to tree slim, and of course now it doesn't ask the question. Slice the plate. Seriously, you're not going to ask the question now that I'm doing a live stream? It kept popping up multiple times. Seriously. Let's see. Tree slim and top Z distance was 0. So that was changed. And what was the other one? Support wall loops tree was 2. So top Z distance, and usually that ends up, it says it's the Z gap between the top support interface and the object. So if we go back to, let's just go back to defaults, and we'll re-slice this again. I don't know why it didn't ask that question again. Top Z distance. And on some stuff, because I think it was 0.1. I'm not sure. I can't remember the default on this. Well, it's got the little tag there. 0.22. And then, which I think it was 0.2. And what was this one? Support wall loop was 2, and the default was 1. So if we do the top Z distance just at 0.2, I think I had done some testing where it was 0.265, if I'm not mistaken. I had some other stuff that, some notes on that. What was it? There's that. Top Z distance 0.1. Okay, where did I get the 0.265? Huh. But it was 0.1 on that top Z distance, so it changed it with the setting of going to the default to tree slim. Oh, okay, here comes. I've got it. I'm not crazy. Here it is. So I just changed it. I changed that top Z distance, and this is what it ends up saying. Let me see, can we zoom in on this? I don't know if we can. But you know what we can do? is we can make this bigger by taking a picture. And then we'll put the picture here, and we'll make the picture bigger. So it ends up, when going to the Tree Slim, it says we have added an experimental style Tree Slim that features smaller support volume but weaker strength. We recommend using it with 0 interface layer. See, I wasn't going crazy. 0 top distance and 2 walls. And then it asks you that question, change to these settings automatically. So I said yes. And so yeah, I'm kind of wondering how this would work out with the of not doing that and keeping the settings that I wanted. So interesting. Things to, I guess we won't. Just keep it to the default and what that would end up doing with the top Z distance of 0.1 and then that other stuff, wall support tree, which is setting for the number of the outer wall layers for the tree support. 0 means intelligent number of layers. Intelligent number of layers. I don't know. I'm not even sure what that means. But what we can end up seeing is that we got a pretty good, as we take a look at this, we had some good details on here, and it did fairly well. And then there was right in there is where there's some supports that we need to get rid of, but it's just underneath this chin area right here. That is just, that's going to be so hard to get, and it's so jam-packed in there. I don't know if I'd be able to get that. I'll have to play around with the X-Acto knife and see how that goes. But overall, I am pretty pleased with the results that we got. And as you can see, if we look in this model, we can see the cape and on this jetpack thing, how it kind of, we had some pieces going through the cape. So there was obviously some problems with the model and how it was done. And again, it was a 32 millimeter model, but it replicated those exact same things that we have on our model here. So if we take a look, I'll just remember this here. So should be like these two pieces here on the side, like this and this, but this, it just kind of magically disappears into the cape. So yeah, needed a little bit of help on that. But it did the exact same thing that we see there. So yeah, it just printed what it was supposed to print. So there's another one. Come on, out of there, out of there. Seriously? Really? You're not going to come out? There we go. Alrighty. So overall, I am pretty impressed with what we came out with this 15-hour print, and the only damage that we ended up having was that purity scroll was a little bit boogered up, but that's nothing that some CA glue can fix. That can fix that up right away. So I'll have to do a little bit of cleanup on post-processing. Some of the edges on this are going to need a little bit of sanding. But other than that, I think this will come out pretty good. I think we've got some areas of the cape, like I was saying, on as you can see there, right along the edge there, we've got some rough edges from those supports. But it should come out okay. Once I clean those things up, sand everything down, and then this will come out all right. You could do something like this on a resin printer, and actually I could do this on a resin printer. You could haul the print out and everything, but with a resin printer, it wouldn't be as durable. You could probably get a little bit more detail in with a resin printer, but depending on the resin that you would use, it wouldn't be as rough and tumble. I don't think. So it would definitely be a display piece. Of course, this would be a display piece, obviously, but it ends up that turned out pretty good. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Finished up the 15-hour print. I can't imagine. That is crazy. And oh, I wonder. Let's see if I can find the prints, time lapse, and let's see if we can do the time lapse. I think we can. Yep, today. So let's see if we can download this. Ooh, we can. And now, let's see if we can bring this, because I haven't done this before. So I'm going to try to bring the MP4 onto the page, and there's the time lapse. Oh, cool, check that out. Look at that. So yeah, that is a pretty impressive, excuse me, pretty impressive print there. And again, a 15-hour print, that is wild. But I would almost be tempted to do this again with the regular settings that I use for the tree supports. With the tree slim, like the 0.1 top Z distance. Oh, look at that. Get to the very last little part. And boom, there it is. Wow. Huh? That's pretty wild. So yeah, 15 hours put into just a matter of 44 seconds. Amazing. So we ended up with our prints. We did that on our Creality K2 Plus from a 32 millimeter STL, Warhammer-ish type of thing that we got off of Colts 3D. I'm pretty sure it was free because I'm cheap. So there's that aspect. So anyway, what are some of your favorite things to print out? Do you have 3D printers? Do you have a resin printer? I mean, what kind of hobbies do you do? But what did you think of the results that we got on this? I mean, that turned out, I think, pretty good. That I am impressed with that. And eventually, there's still some, there's some boogered up areas. Like here's one right here on his elbow. See where you can see that hole right in there? You can see it, there it is. Right in there at the tip of my finger. Yeah, he's got that there. And then another soft spot was on that knee right there. So it didn't press or didn't fill in the way it should. But then again, I'm not sure if that's because of the model or if that's because of the printer. But the printer is only going to print what's in the model, and I'm wondering if the model itself was a little bit flawed. If we go back and look. Now the other thing that came into play with this was a little warning, and we'll actually take a look at this. Let's go back and I'll show you. If we go down here again, down on this bottom left, and what I can end up doing is, again, let's go ahead and we'll just take a picture of that, and we'll bring this here and we'll make this big. So this, the Fist Blade Guard Sergeant, there is the dimensions, the volume, and look at all the triangles. So we got 1.99 triangles, and so it actually came up with an error. It says 223 non-manifold edges. So fix the model feature is currently only on Windows. Please repair the model on Creality Print Windows or CAD software. So I knew that we were going to get something wrong, but I just didn't know what. And the interesting thing is I thought we would have a lot more failure points on this model. So yeah, that ended up being kind of a cool thing. It was a cool print. which makes me wonder how the fixed model would work on Creality. You need to get your collective shit together and work the fixed model on the Mac because it's what I have, so you need to fix that. But yeah, I was surprised. I thought there would be a few more failure points than what we experienced, so that turned out really well. But with that, yeah, we're kind of done with that 15-hour print. The results came out pretty good, and like I said, one of these days I'm going to do a larger Hulk. You can see the Hulk back there, and this is the larger Hulk that we have, and I'm just filling in the edges and everything. But that came out. This is going to be an awesome model. But yeah, this is a pretty big one, and compared to, let me see if I can hold these two up. Yeah, kind of a big difference between these two. So I definitely like the Hulk, but I think the Hulk is I want to make this one like 5 feet high. But could you imagine this one being 5 feet high? That would be insane. With the shield and the sword and all that. But I don't know, which one would you pick? Would you pick, the Warhammer guy being 5 feet tall, or would you end up picking the Hulk and being 5 feet tall with that? I don't know. I'm partial to the Hulk. I will tell you that right now. Hulk was one of my favorite characters along with Spider-Man when I was growing up, and the comics and all that stuff. And the Hulk, the base, the pose, all of that stuff, and of course when I did a resin print of that Hulk, that came out really, really nice. And I ended up, this is probably one of the nicer ones, but yeah, I mean, look at that. That came out awesome. Everything from the base, and then of course, this is kind of what I ended up doing with airbrushing. So did the base, of course I used a brush with that, but for the Hulk itself and all of that stuff, I ended up doing airbrushing and, some darker stuff. And yeah, I just love this pose for the Hulk. And you can imagine this being 5 feet tall. That would be awesome. So yeah, we'll see. But scaling up the Hulk is going to be huge, because scaling that thing up, I kind of computed out, it would take like 3 months of printing. Almost 3 months of printing just to do the base. Yeah, totally insane. So that would be a long time thing. So anyway, you don't want to hear me ramble about the Hulk anymore and all that stuff. So we had a successful print with the K2 Plus and our Blade Guard Sergeant dude that we printed from the Warhammer. And we'll close this video out. So with that being said, we're at the summary screen, so there it is. If you want to leave a comment, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. That would be the biggest thing that you could do for me today. Bring joy to my heart, and knowing that you did that should bring joy to your heart. With that, if you want to contact me, there's my email address. I answer every single email. 100%. I haven't, even the crazy people, and we're all crazy if you do some type of hobby stuff. The people down below on the scrolling ticker, those are people who have done me a solid by buying me a coffee, and the link is in the description box down below. If you do that, that's cool. But I really would like the like and subscribe. So if you take time to smash those buttons, I would appreciate that, and do me a solid that way. So with that said, Steve, the retired hobby tech guy, I'm done for the day. And it's like here in Korea, it's after 9 o'clock p.m. here in Korea. And what is it, 23rd of May. So it's Thursday back in the United States if you're watching this live. And we enjoyed doing the print. And the K2 Plus ends up being a great printer. I like it. A lot of people have problems, but then a lot of people that don't have problems don't voice how great it is because they're just busy printing stuff and they don't do videos like me. So anyway, that's it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate that. Again, like and subscribe, and be sure to tune in on the next video. And with that, we will say adieu and peace, and have a good one. All right? Thanks. Man, that came out good. I like that.